Britain has officially left the European Union, but what happens next? The breakup is official on January 31st in 2020 at 11 p.m. local time. The United Kingdom left the European Union. The UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson gave a brief address ahead of the big moment, where he struck an optimistic note about Britain's future outside the European Union. The most important thing to say tonight is that this is not an end but a beginning, the Prime Minister said. A countdown clock was projected into his residence at 10 Downing Street, and a recording of the under-renovation Big Ben rang at 11 p.m. Anti-Brexiters were in a much less celebratory mood, and some protests and vigils are expected across the country. The European Union quietly removed Britain's flags from the headquarters in Brussels. Thus, the United Kingdom and the European Union will not disentangle immediately. Instead, the United Kingdom enters into a transition period in which the two sides will try to hatch out the future relationship. So, while Brexit has happened, it's not really done. Here is a quick guide to what actually happened on the January 31st and what comes after. So, what happened on January 31st? The short answer: Article 50 expired. Article 50 says, first, any member state may decide to withdraw from the Union in accordance with its own constitutional requirements. Second, a member state which decided to withdraw shall notify the European Council of its intention. In the light of the guidelines provided by the European Council, the Union shall negotiate and conclude an agreement with the states. Note that both sides have agreed to and formally ratified the Brexit deal. They are letting Article 50 run out. So January 31st at 11 p.m. was essentially the point of no return, but it won't seem like it. So what will happen during the transition? The transition period or the implementation period begins now that the United Kingdom has left, and it will last until at least December 31st in 2020. Very little will actually change. The United Kingdom will continue to follow all the European Union rules. Only now it will have no say in what those rules are, since it won't be a European Union member anymore. The United Kingdom and the European Union will now have to figure out what their future relationship will look. They have 11 months to do this, which is a very nice way of saying the hard part of Brexit is yet to come. The European Union and the United Kingdom both have an interest in maintaining a strong relationship, but what character it will take in what the next phase is all about. The starting point for these negotiations will be something called the Political Declaration, which sets out broad principles, establishes the parameters of an ambitious, broad, deep, and flexible partnership across trade and economic cooperations. The big one is trade. The United Kingdom is leaving the European Union, customs union, and single market. So the two sides want to work out a trade agreement, ideally with no tariffs and no quotas, and keep trade barriers low. But it's not just trade. The two sides have to discuss security and law enforcement as cooperations. Access to fishing waters, which is a big one, banking, data and intelligence sharing, manufacturing, and a whole lot more. Everything in the European Union and the United Kingdom did together before, they now have to figure out how they can still do it together now that they are apart. Therefore, what happens if there is no deal by the end of 2020? Johnson and the European Union could decide in June to extend the transition period, giving them more time and pushing negotiations to as late as 2022. But assuming that's not happening, at the European Union and the United Kingdom don't have a trade agreement in place, one could perhaps call this as no deal scenario. Yes, that's right. The no deal Brexit is back. All the catastrophe things that could have happened if the United Kingdom left the European Union without a plan in place before, Brexit could still occur if the two sides reach the end of transition period without agreements. That's because once the transition period expires, all the trade and regulatory agreements the United Kingdom was following will end. The two sides will trade under World Trade Organization's rule, which sets the tariffs and quotas between countries that don't have free trade agreements in place with each other. For all these reasons, this is an outcome both the United Kingdom and the European Union want to avoid. Like last time, it will be bad for both the European Union and the United Kingdom, but far worse for the United Kingdom. This is why Johnson's critics deemed his decision to eliminate the possibility of extending the transition period. But Johnson has continued to insist he can make speedy deals with the European Union. And the rest of the world, now he and everybody else are about to find out, which means another thing will not change after January 31st at 11 p.m. Brexit is not going anywhere anytime soon.